couple things that are happening right now. Fact. We're in a renaissance. We're in a creative renaissance, which is incredible. Although we've been in a creativity crisis for 30 years by design. We're in an educational reformation, and we're in a homeschool revolution. We've gone from 5 million homeschoolers to almost 20 million in the last 5 years. That's a revolution. The entire system, the educational system, is crumbling before our eyes. Hollywood is bankrupt and been bankrupt for years, and even the publishing industry is crumbling. In fact, I was talking with my agent this morning, and there was a massive book distributor in the U.S., responsible for about 500-600 publishers that just went bankrupt 8 weeks ago. Gee, go figure. I wonder why. Because they keep peddling crap nobody wants to buy. And then there's like 3 other book publishers in the U.S. that are headed towards bankruptcy. And just like Trump said, it's like you go woke, you go broke. Period. And it's a fact.
But before we get started, folks, make sure you hit the pause button. Okay, go down below. There's a Rumble link. Go over to Rumble and follow us over there. QFS1776.com is, without question, the holy grail of what's to come. Okay, T-shirts. You got to get yourself decorated. This way people will ask you, what is XRP? What is the quantum financial system? What is this? What is that? And you send them where? To QFS1776.com, where they need to immerse themselves, because we're going to burn down this system down to the ground. And out of the ashes will rise the phoenix. There'll be nothing to go back to. Believe me when I tell you that. Gold and silver right down below. We are the ones that can get you the gold and silver directly to your door, okay, at the cheapest price. Don't even waste your time looking for a cheaper price. It doesn't exist. Also, our Telegram groups down below. If you want to learn what's coming and you're sort of a little scared, I understand. Believe me, I was there too at one point. And if you need more than $10,000 worth of XRP or $1 million worth of XRP, you come see me. Send me an email at QFS1776@gmail.com, and we'll get you as much as you want. Well, we got Chad Stewart. Chad Stewart owns a website called Britfield.com, and he's into artificial intelligence. He's into a lot of different stuff, and he's going to tell you what his website is all about. I'm not going to try to steal your thunder. You put it together, so it's your brainchild. And, he's obviously, everybody's trying to do something. Everybody fits a piece of the puzzle in this new world order sort of thing that we're all in. And it is like I just told him, it's a kabuki theater shit show on steroids of epic proportion. And just, you got to sit back and watch the movie. Chad, welcome to the show. I want you to tell the people what you know about artificial intelligence. What is your website all about? What is your intent? Where do you see it going? What is the finish, your goal as far as what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, really our contribution to elevating society, if you will, and taking America back has been through literature. And as you well know, that's been sort of hijacked for decades. And what you have currently out there is about 80-90% of all literature right now is filled with witchcraft and demigods, superheroes, heightened fantasy, vampires, everything and anything except stuff that's just natural and real. And it's designed that way to do 2 things: remove children from reality, the readers from reality. Number 2, make them feel less than they are. Right? If I just had a wand, if I just had magical powers, if I could just fly. Whereas all children are amazing, all children are born creative, all children have talent, all children have a wonderful, unique purpose to be alive and to be in this world, and something incredible to contribute. And so that's really what the Britfield and the Lost Crown series is inspiring. And so had the idea over 10 years ago for book 1, Britfield and the Lost Crown. And sat down, took me 4 years, 2,500 hours to create book 1 of a 7-book series. It's 384 pages, officially launched August 2019. And since then, it's become one of the most awarded books in children's fiction. What's unique about the series, number 1, is it takes place in current time, present time. And it's about family, friendship, loyalty, courage, hope, and faith. It's as authentic as possible with real locations. Book 1 takes place in England, starts up in Yorkshire, Northern England. And then as the story unfolds, it moves to Oxford, Windsor, London, and finally down to Canterbury. And we incorporate history, geography, art, architecture, and culture into every single book. And we hit on the 4 C's: creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. And so our youngest reader is 7. Our oldest reader has been 93. 55% of our reading audience are adults. And we not only have a national but global impact on the series. So in 2019, we launched this school tour, and just a grassroots school tour. I drove 9,000 miles. I visited 23 states, presented over 200 schools to more than 40 to 50,000 students, private, public, Christian, Catholic, homeschool, charter. And it was a really good way to, launch the series, but it was also a really good way to gauge what was happening in the educational landscape, get a feel of what was happening with children and kids, what they were reading, how often were they reading, how popular was ebooks, how popular were computers. And so, and I was sitting there as I'm doing book signings at the end of my presentation. Sometimes I was there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 80, 100 students getting a signed book, which was amazing. And I'm just asking them questions. And so that was really an incredible way to sort of launch this. And then it was actually in March 2019 that I was in Memphis, Tennessee, when we had this whole quote unquote shutdown, and which was interesting. So I had to drive all the way back to San Diego, and then we launched an online virtual author visit. But it's a 7-book series. We launched book 1 in August 2019. We launched book 2, which takes place in France in July 2021. My main characters of Tom and Sarah now 13 years old. It's 474 pages. We launched book 3, Britfield and the Return of the Prince, in September 2022. We're now 14. It's in Italy. And then we're just getting ready to launch book 4, Britfield and the Eastern Empire. And it starts in Vienna and ends in Moscow, Russia. And so I kind of wanted to lay the landscape of this 7-book series, because what we're doing in the series, which is kind of fun and unique, is we're also bringing in current events and real things that are happening, such as AI. And book 4, it's got this fast-paced story. It's got all the characters that kind of continue with this saga, this series. But we thread in sort of a threat that's happening. And in this particular series, book 4, the main threat is this committee group that's kind of behind the shadow government, that are trying to manipulate the stock market and crash the entire financial system. And in doing so, we'll introduce a one world digital currency, which frankly, everyone will have to accept, or they won't be able to buy food. And we introduce quantum mechanics, quantum computers, quantum encryption, and the dangers of AI, and this sophisticated system that's been created that's manipulating the market and doing what it's doing. And so so it's interesting. So we touch on a lot of the subjects that I'm sure your show covers, behind the scenes, pulling the curtain, what's really going on out there. And so it's been a hugely impactful series, not just nationally, but globally. And I think what it's doing is it's really relating to our readers, specifically middle school, young adult, who can relate with the characters, because they're real circumstances, real places, real locations, and the children are solving their problems in a realistic way. You know what I mean? They're faced with it, they're discussing it, they're trying something, it fails, they try something else. There is no witchcraft, there is no wands, there is no walking through walls, flying over buildings, using your superpowers, getting some sword. Just all that stuff is just this fantasy nonsense to disconnect kids from reality. So we're having massive impact. It's been said that we'll outsell Harry Potter in the next 8 to 10 years, which is incredible.
Wow.
And we have one investment banker that's been working with us since July of last year, who read our business plan, looked at everything that's happening, our trajectories, and said that we could actually be bigger than Star Wars. So it's kind of exciting. But I say some of that just to put it on that sort of spectrum, that it's not some guy out of his van selling a few books. We are literally having massive impact. In fact, I was on the phone with my literary agent this morning, who's based out of France, and we're just about to lock in India for the international rights for the book series. That's big. And we're about to lock in South Korea, Japan, and we have 18 other countries that's interested in buying the international rights. So
that's pretty wild. So do you think the bad guys ultimately win, and we're going to slip into this new world order at some point down the road?
yeah,
We're going to be all walking down the street with a box with our digital ID and say, "You're a bad guy, Chad. You can't buy a loaf of bread this week."
No, it's where that's where it's being pushed. That's what they want. I think we're at the beginning of the end of this grip. I'm definitely on the optimistic side, not hallucinated, but just fact based. I think we as a public as America have never been more awake in our life, in a lifetime, in history right now. People are finally, I mean, millions and millions of people are awake, not totally awake, but they're awake. They're seeing things for the first time clearly. They're challenging things for the first time clearly. You have record numbers. I mean, in the tens of thousands of conservatives and Christians starting to go out for these different roles in government, whether it's school board, mayor, senator, you name it. People that, you know, just from every walk of life that are challenging this Democrat, you know, horrific, satanic cult. And so that's exciting. You have mothers that are challenging the school boards. You have hundreds and thousands of women, mothers that are standing up against the crap that's being put into the schools. And so really what it is, it's a last-ditch effort. It's the last, I always like to say it's the last days of Nazi Germany that you are seeing unfold across the landscape. A couple things that are happening right now. Fact. We're in a renaissance. We're in a creative renaissance, which is incredible, although we've been in a creativity crisis for 30 years by design. We're in an educational reformation, and we're in a homeschool revolution. We've gone from 5 million homeschoolers to almost 20 million in the last 5 years. That's a revolution. The entire system, the educational system, is crumbling before our eyes. Hollywood is bankrupt and been bankrupt for years, and even the publishing industry is crumbling. In fact, I was talking with my agent this morning, and there was a massive book distributor in the U.S., you know, responsible for about 500-600 publishers that just went bankrupt 8 weeks ago. Gee, go figure. I wonder why. Because they keep peddling crap nobody wants to buy. And then there's like 3 other book publishers in the U.S. that have gone that are headed towards bankruptcy. And just like Trump said, you know, it's like you go woke, you go broke. Period. And it's a fact. And so this is not popular. We're not a divided nation. We're not wrestling with, you know, people that really like this stuff. It's crap is crap, garbage is garbage, and we're having huge impact. So I'm excited.
Yeah, well, I don't think, first of all, kids should be subject to go to school and be tortured in these educational concentration brainwashing camps for
Yep.
8 hours a day. They learn a
Brutal.
bunch of stuff that they'll never use. I know you're there. I know I'm there. I've learned a lot of stuff in school that I'll never use. A
Sure.
big waste of time. Now we got
It
people
is.
like Patrick from PBD, Patrick David. I can never pronounce his name properly, his last name, but he's a big deal on he's an Iranian guy. He's got like 10 million people following him on social media, and he's basically saying the educational system is a joke, and it is.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here from an educational standpoint? Where does education lead us in the future? Do we have maybe a system that's online where kids are going to go to school online for 3 hours and learn some real stuff for a change, and then go out and play and exchange germs in the parking lot so that they can build up their immune system? How does it all unfold?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, it is the end days of the traditional educational system, which, like you said, it's based on an industrial model from the 19th century. You know, kids are locked in these institutions for 40 hours a week, and you're wondering why a 12-year-old gets antsy. Are you freaking kidding me? It's very unnatural. It was never designed that way. And so there's lots of things that are happening, you know, and the biggest thing in my mind is the homeschool movement. And I mean, going from 5 million to almost 20 million and growing. And when you say homeschool, you know, you always think it's like one mom that has to stay home with her one kid. And it's not like that at all. And I'm not a homeschooler myself. I'm just when something works and I see the results of it, the best educated kids that I've seen, and I've been all over the nation, if not the world, are homeschooled kids. You know, I'll meet 12, 13-year-olds. They're grounded, they're smart, they're well-spoken, they ask questions. They're usually 1 to 2 grades ahead. They're artistic, they're creative. These are our future leaders. And so, yeah, I mean, education is the single most important thing in a child's life. It is up to the parents, and there's absolutely no excuse. And I get it. You know, both of you guys are working on a fiat currency system, you know, barely, you know, making paycheck to paycheck, and you can't really be disturbed with this, or you just want to drop your kid off. I'm sorry, but I mean, you've absolutely got to take 100% responsibility for them, know where they're learning, know what they're teaching, and if not, pull them out of there and homeschool them. And the point I'm saying is you don't have to homeschool them. There's homeschool groups, networks. You can drop them off at a homeschool building. instead of dropping them off at the public school. There's hybrid models. I mean, you could work 4 days a week, take one day off with like 5 other parents, and each of you teach a subject. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. There is absolutely nothing more important than the education of your child, especially that sort of 5, 6, 7, and then you get to those critical ages, 10, 11, and 12. And that's what the Britfield series has been focused on. Our beachhead isn't retail, bookstores, or all the other stuff. It's been the schools, and we're already in thousands of schools across the nation. We're being taught in hundreds of schools. We have an 83-page study guide based on academic standards, so it's turnkey for teachers to teach Britfield and Lost Crown right there in the classroom or homeschool group. We developed a 90-minute 2-act theatrical play. It took me 18 months based on the book. So now you can bring in really good content to put on as a theater project instead of some ridiculous musical or fantasy nonsense,
Exactly.
So again, it's like, the enemy's very smart and slow and methodical, and decade after decade, lowering our standards, bringing in socialism, doing everything he's doing. And now what you're seeing is you're seeing them scared, cornered, and it's like a scorched earth policy. It is the
Correct.
beginning of the end. Now it's going
Correct.
to take some time,
But
but it is the beginning of the end. Go ahead.
yeah, here's the thing. Newsom, even though they're losing by a score of like 900 trillion to nothing, right? The audacity of these people. Newsom yesterday, I don't know if you should know this because you live in California, right? He
Sure.
signed into law that a kid could go down to the school guidance counselor, wherever you go to, and do a gender reassignment without the parents' consent. In other words, they're not going to call you to let you know that your boy is going to be a girl.
Sure. Yeah, I'm aware of that as being fought, and it will be fought. And Newsom's communist. I mean, he was already recalled 4-1 in California, but they cheat on everything and reverse that. And again, you're seeing the end days for all these guys, all of them. I'm telling you.
How long are these trials going to go on? Because we're talking about millions of people here need to be arrested. We're not talking about
No, I know, and I don't want to dive into that because I'm sure you cover. I do think many things are happening behind the scenes. I have exclusive insight to that. You do too. I know people that so I'm not living in some fantasy world. A lot is happening. And I think if you're honest and you do your research, you're seeing a lot that's happening. But you've got a gnarly multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure system in place and hundreds of thousands of useful idiots, over the last 50 years. It's hard to clean that up in a couple of years. It's happening. I think you're going to see a lot of stuff happen in the next couple of months, personally. And but just things like the homeschool revolution. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's something that a parent can do, and they're pulling their kids. And it's funny because even like I don't read obviously any of the propaganda newspapers, but a friend was like reading something about San Diego Tribune or something like last month, and it's like record teachers are losing their jobs in the public system. Gee, go figure. If you suddenly had 100 students and now you have 60 students. So they're losing hundreds of millions and not billions of dollars for their infrastructure. And they're going to kick around for the next 5, 7, 10 years and stuff. But it is the beginning of the end. Yeah.
So Britfield.com is here to basically deprogram the kids and reprogram them the proper way. What is the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I mean, that's just our website, Britfield.com. It's a great place to get information, to buy the book series. We have over 400 pictures of book 1 on there, which is pretty cool. 100 pages of information, some of the interviews. You could download our purchase and download our theatrical play. So it's really just kind of a great holding place. But we're already national and global. And the book series really is it's designed in many ways. Number one, we're trying to raise the level of literature. And like we say, one of our quotes is that Britfield is this generation's book series.
Sure.
Whereas Harry Potter was last generation, to the tune of $34 billion and 600 million copies sold. And it was designed for 2 reasons. One was to introduce witchcraft and black magic into the hearts and minds of children. And they were very successful. Witchcraft is the fastest growing religion in the world. We're trying to reverse that with the Britfield series now by offering a book of light, not darkness, and instilling in these kids practical, common sense, real values. And a book series that's based on family values, current time, and kids are reading it, learning about history and geography, art, architecture. Are you kidding me? Like, that's like a mom's dream. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and the kids are loving it. I mean, we've had 12-year-olds that have read book one in 5 hours.
Wow.
A lot of kids have said that they've never read anything like it. They say that some of the comments we get back is it reads like a movie. You feel like you're there. I can absolutely relate with the characters. I've had parents that have gotten back to me, sending me pictures that they've now taken their kids to England or France or Italy, to some of these real places, and visited where Tom and Sarah, my main characters, have gone. And I'm not saying all the parents can do that. Of course not. But I mean, isn't that kind of cool that we're instilling in something in these kids, this chance of a bigger world than just, California or America, different cultures, and the beauty of those different cultures, and to visit that, and to have more of an explorer mind than an internal mind. And one of the best comments I got was from a friend of mine. Her daughter read book one like 7 times, loves the Britfield series. And she said, my daughter Iris has now turned her room into an explorer room. And I thought, how cool is that? Like, I don't know what that looks like, but isn't that a lot better than a room of witchcraft or vampires? And you could
Absolutely.
probably you could probably imagine she's got a big map of the world, and she probably has some posters of different countries and stuff, and just really cool. And now, I mean, that's inspiring that kid to think, to travel, to ask, to meet other people, other cultures. I mean, that's the whole idea behind this, is really to kind of connect the world, because I think we're all connected. And I love humanity. I love people. I think people are people. Yeah.
Absolutely. How many writers do you have currently for your books, or are you the only writer currently and you're planning on bringing on additional writers?
Yeah, I've got a great core team behind the whole Britfield movement, because that's what
Mhm.
it is. But I'm the sole writer of the books, not for any particular reason. I know some people will co-write and stuff, and that's great. For me, it's I bite the bullet. It's like
Wow. Okay.
a lot of work. So like we're getting ready to launch book four end of September, Britfield and the Eastern Empire. So I'm really excited about that. 460 pages. This one's huge. This one's big, covering 10 countries. We're introducing a lot of the subjects in there and stuff, and it's just fast-paced, fun, awesome literature. I mean, book three was 575 pages, and you're having 14-year-olds embracing it, reading it. I got a lot of feedback when that was launched, and like kids were getting, like, put the book down and go to bed. I love that, right? It's like 10 o'clock, lights out, stop reading Britfield. And I love that. I love kids that are so into reading it, and it's the way that it's designed. And there's a lot of things, if we have time, we can talk a little bit about why it works so well. My methodology, my writing approach, and why kids are getting so pulled into it. It's feeding their soul, number one. But I always start on the action, I end on the action. I use tight description. I don't drown it out with description. And based on the 3-act structure, I've got a lot of parallels. It's always building, always growing. And it really reads like a movie, because I think it's designed for the entire film series.
Yeah. Now, did you go to some kind of like special school to learn what you learned, or you're basically a creative person on your own and you've just one day decided Britfield.com and I'm going to start writing books? How did that happen?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I got my first start, if you will, when I was 12 years old. I think it was sixth grade. And we had a wonderful teacher, great elementary school, very creative teacher. Let us do things and explore things. And we had an assignment, to write a book. And I think it was worth a third of our grade. And, not a novel, but 20, 25 pages, paragraph picture. And
Sure.
but it's just like, and as a kid at 12, you're like, oh gosh, that's a nightmare. But I learned early that how you write is you write about what you know, and you write about what you love. And I
Hmm.
had fun. And because of her, children will never know what they can do until you give an opportunity to do it, to give them an opportunity to do it. And so I wrote about my first official book, if you will, was called James Bond, Eat Your Heart Out. I was a 12-year-old Secret Service agent working for the British government. I was living in a beautiful Tudor-style mansion with my butler down in Hampshire, and I was assigned to capture this villain throughout Europe. And that was my first book. And it was like 25, 30 pages. I still have it too. It's pretty cool. And it actually has humor in it. But see, those seeds were planted at a young age. And then I was a British literature major, European history major, did my undergraduate at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, went on to postgraduate work and grad school. So I think the English major, the history, I mean, we read a ton of literature. We analyzed a ton of literature, and I wrote a lot. And then since I was 18, I've been taking script writing classes and started working with professional script writers. So I think that what made the books great, and I didn't know this when I had the idea to write book one. I wasn't thinking, hey, I've got all this great years of script writing, I can use that same technique. It was almost subconscious. But in script writing, just so your audience knows, it's like if you have a 90-minute movie, you usually have about a 90-minute page script. You don't have a 300-page script.
Mhm.
Every page represents a minute. And so what it does is it teaches you economy of words. You don't waste words. Your paragraphs aren't more than 2, 3, 4 lines at the most. You enter on the action, you leave on the action, your dialogue's tight, you follow the 3-act structure, plot point 1, midpoint, plot point 2. So all these things, you have to do it that way for a movie. And we as an audience, especially as an American audience, we know subconsciously if a movie follows that style, and we're almost expecting by that 28-minute mark for something to happen. That's plot point 1, and we know kind of right about in the middle of the movie, something's going to switch. There's a revelation, and that's the kind of technique that you have to sort of follow. It's traditional technique. So I learned all that, those skills, and then when I was sitting down to write Britfield and Lost Crown, subconsciously that style went into it. Started on the action, it moved fast, tight dialogue, great narrative, building until the end and a crescendo. So
Well, if you were to compare the movies that would potentially will come out based on what you're writing today in the future, which movie would you compare your movie to that was old world that we're basically getting ready to graduate out of?
now it's great too because we're getting ready to move into post-production for the film. We anticipate that the first Britfield movie will actually be one of the highest grossing films in cinematic history. We can talk about that. But in doing so, and we're putting together, we put together the business plan. It's like a 50, 60-page business plan because it's like every movie is like a business. I mean, it's a company and a lot of work, hundreds, if not thousands of people are always involved in every movie. And it's hard. It's like, so what do we compare Britfield to? Because I think as a series, I don't know of another series like it in literature. And I'm a literature major,
Mhm.
I'm a history major, and I've been inspired by myself. I was a big Dickens fan, David Copperfield, Oliver Twist, Great Expectations is one of my favorite stories. He was a master. He was a master of characters, of writing, this wonderful Shakespearean book of characters, with all these people totally disconnected at the beginning and all somehow connected at the end. So he was a master. He's one of the most popular writers of his time. I'm a Jane Austen fan. I'm a Bronte sisters, Wuthering Heights fan, Jane Eyre fan. So I've studied all these books. I've studied these works, even into current stuff. Even Ian Fleming and the James Bond series. Who didn't love that? So I don't know of any other sort of book series like that. And so with movies, I think it's a combination of National Treasure and Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think those would be the best
The
ways
best
to kind of,
description you could give so that people can
yeah,
understand. So, okay, great.
because those are both
Sounds
kind of,
intriguing.
yeah, those are both based like, whereas Raiders of the Lost Ark was back in time and Britfield's current, it was based on reality and something that was happening in real times. And then National Treasure, this sort of behind this mystery, this group, current time, solving this mystery, guys that are out there trying to stop you and stuff, and both hugely successful movies and stuff. So
Do you see any of your movies in the future having anything to explain the artificial intelligence movement that we're sort of going in that could have
oh yeah,
benefits or dangers?
oh yeah. I mean, really, book 2 is my Empire Strikes Back. It gets darker. Book
Okay.
1's my Star Wars. It's fun. It launches the series. It's exciting. You're introduced to Tom. You're introduced to this idea of Britfield and this mystery and what is the royal what is Britfield and Lost Crown? Some royal dynasty that's been lost. How's Tom connected to it? It ends satisfactory, but it almost just sort of begins. You know what I mean? You just read 400 pages and it's like background, and now it starts. You get to France, book 2. Tom and Sarah now 13 years old. 474 pages. We introduced, the committee, bloodline, secret societies. We get into a lot of that stuff because it fits that narrative. I don't entrench it in there. It's not, bogged down with it. I'm not trying to sell anything. It just fits the narrative in the background that there's a group behind the scenes that's trying to stop good, if you will. And so in doing so, we even introduced transhumanism and the dangers of that and mixing DNA, animal DNA with human DNA. We actually get into that. We lightly touch on it, but we touch on it, and it's real, and it's really happening right now. And then book 3, the big plot in that is collecting everyone's, the reason that social media existed was not to connect us and have fun and share pictures and do stuff. It was to collect all our information, as you well know, to know everything about us, and we did it voluntarily. And the idea is that especially in book 3, is they're taking all of that information worldwide, putting it into a D-Wave computer system, which is in Switzerland. There's like a D-Wave computer in Switzerland that holds all the world's information. And this way they have a complete profile on you. And they feed this stuff into computers such as CCTV cameras. So when you're walking past cameras, and there's something like, I think there's 2 to 3 CCTV cameras in China for every one person, if you can imagine. And it's to monitor everything, to watch everything. And it's not just visual. They've got something like 15 different markers. So you and I could be walking down the street here in the US, and we could have a hat on, glasses, and a scarf, and be talking, and it would pick up our voice, like our voice immediately, or it would pick up our heat signature. We all have certain heat signatures. It would pick up my mannerisms or the way I walk, and it would immediately know that I'm who I am. And so in book 3, there's a big computer system that they're trying to launch in Venice, Italy. This is kind of the end, the crescendo for it. And the resistance, which is represented with Britfield, is trying to stop it. And what they're trying to do is to try to usher in this sort of one world social media system. And then what they'll do is they'll introduce social credit scoring, which is already being introduced into China, which means you and I are walking down the street. I say something negative about the government, that they pick it up. My score goes from 100 to 80, and then I say something else to a friend a week later on my cell phone, and it goes down to 60. Now I can't get a bank loan, or I can't get my insurance redone. I mean, you name it. You know what I mean? That's the way they work it. And so you either shut up and do what they tell you, or you're going to be living out of cardboard box and canned food. And so that's one of the big pictures. That's what they're trying to do. That's what China's trying to do. It's what they're trying to do with smart cities. There's nothing smart about it. There's nothing smart about the smart internet. Complete idiot. And AI is idiotic. It's not as sophisticated as they say it is. Really, what you have is a lot of useful idiots that are jumping on the bandwagon, trying to push AI. And oh my gosh, it's so great. It's going to make everything easier. Easier than what? Better than what? Number 2, remember this about AI. AI is not creative, and it will never be creative. And which means it doesn't create anything. It steals things. They can steal other people's literature and different writers' writing styles and combine it. They can create art in the sense of taking other artists. It's plagiarizing, but it's not creative. It never will be creative. It never has that aspect to it. And so some of the statistics, which I have here, is 95% of all accountants will be out of work in the next 5 to 7 years because of AI technology. 40 to 50% of all the medical field will be obsolete because of AI and technology. 40 to 50% of all media will be obsolete in the next 7 to 10 years based on AI and technology. And 40% of all lawyers will be out of work. So, by all means, guys, keep pushing this AI and supporting it. It's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. The Terminator wasn't a movie, it's a documentary. And that is kind of one of their end goals. So
what do you know about the 6,000 patents that our government is so bent on, hiding from us for decades now? Do you know anything about that at all?
I do. Yeah, I don't want to get into that stuff, but I'm very familiar with it. They're hundreds of years advanced in technology. So when they're introducing something as marvelous as the cell phone, which honestly, there's good aspects about the cell phone. I mean, it's amazing.
Right.
I can, in my little cell phone. I mean, I could be anywhere, and I can be talking. I could be watching something. I could be texting. I could be researching. I mean, pretty sophisticated information. When this thing came out, I mean, they already had it 50 years ago, 75 years ago. They've had all this technology, and so they hold it. You know what I mean? They have. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but things like cancer has been eradicated 100 years ago, but there's no money in that,
of course.
And but you're seeing a lot of reverses now, with what's happening with that. I'm familiar with the med beds. I'm familiar with all that kind of stuff. The technology, and it's all
real, right?
It's all real.
I love interviewing a guy like you because I'm letting you go because you're a wealth of knowledge. But, I own a healing center here in Cape Canaveral, stayingalive.com, alive with 2 eyes. And we have had people walk through the system, the scalar wave technology, which is a remnants of Nikola Tesla. and 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks later, their bodies were able to heal themselves from, stage 4 lymphoma cancer. You know what I
Wonderful.
mean? So we have it now. This is just a little stepping stone to greater and bigger things. Tell us a little bit about quantum computers and encryption. I know you know something about that supposedly.
Yeah, real quick too. I mean, like, Russia, like in the 70s and 80s, were into
Mhm.
frequencies and healing frequencies and stuff and healing people from it's the whole medical system, and I'm sure you've covered it on there. It's just like
Yeah,
I sort of almost feel sorry for the doctors because they're useful idiots. They're not educated at all. They're not wealthy because they're indebted and I mean they're embedded in debt, and they're really just professional drug pushers and drug sellers. They're putting on band-aids on problems. They're not solving anything. And I'd say about 90 to 93% of all doctors need to find a real job because they're not, I mean, and
yeah,
that's the truth. I mean, absolute truth. So I'm all in that natural, I mean, if
yeah.
I'm in a car accident, and I'm all, hey,
Obviously, yes,
Mr. Surgeon, yes, go do
yeah,
save me. But
yes,
beyond that, it's just like, my goodness gracious, 90% of all surgeries or medical procedures are unnecessary. And there's so many other ways to naturally heal, joints and limbs and systems and everything. But anyway, so yeah, so the whole quantum world is interesting. The quantum entanglement, quantum mechanics, the whole computer system. I mean, the speed of it is incredible. It's kind of mind-boggling. It's hard to sort of explain, so I'm sorry. I do touch on it in my book, and I kind of explain it, and AI's role in it, and part of it is oh, what was that? There was a great James Bond movie. Um, oh, so it was the third one with Daniel Craig. Oh, what was it called? Oh, something. Oh, well, come to me. And they had picked up this villain's laptop and they plugged it in back at their MI6 system. Then they showed it, and I'm just using that as an example because it's very interesting how their encryption worked, and it was kind of this organic system, meaning normal encryption is like, if I there's firewalls, and then if I have, this is the code, passcode or something like that. But with the AI that starts to think for itself, if you will, the technology that starts to think for itself, it counters your attempts, and then it counterattacks your attempts. So it's a lively computer system that immediately knows your presence, immediately knows that you're trying to break in, starts to hit countermeasures to try to undermine your system by inserting malware and shutting it down. And the password can change and be organic and approach in a different way. And so try not to lose your audience, but it's a very sophisticated thing, but a very dangerous thing. And really, the best way to say it is the Terminator. You know what I mean? And they always do that. Hollywood will always put stuff out. That's their vision. The people that are behind this, they want the Terminator. You know what I mean? They love that. They love machines running everything, machines controlling everything. They won't. This idea that you can live forever, you won't. Those that have violated God's laws, guess where you're going? You're not taking your consciousness and putting it into another thing. Cloning is real. It's been around for a long time. Good movie to watch is The Boys of Brazil, based on real
yes.
stuff.
I've seen it.
Yeah, a great book. I hate doing this because it'll cross over
It's
when people
okay. You're
are
good.
no, but what happens is like they'll be buying Britfield Lost Crown, and then they'll say, if you like this, you'll buy this. But it's an incredible book. It's by Jim Marrs. It's called the Rise of the Fourth Reich. You want to read a great book
Yeah,
that explains a lot. Jim Marrs is incredible. He is a meticulous researcher, and you have to go back. You know what I mean? Like 9/11 for a lot of us was a turning point, and it was a turning point going forward and going back, because basically everything that was told to us was a lie from start to finish, all of it. And so, and then I got into that book, and you go back to Nazi Germany, World War II, what happened, why it happened, who was controlling it, where the money came. Did Nazi Germany really lose? Which the answer is no. And Hitler had survived, ended up in Argentina. Most of
correct.
the Nazis escaped through the rat lines, as they called them.
Mhm.
The billions of dollars that was pillaged and stolen went into American corporations and other corporations. I mean, it's all real stuff. This is all happening. And so I got off on a bit of a tangent because I was
No,
talking
no,
about
you're
cloning.
good. My audience is
Yeah.
going to eat this stuff up. I'm going to tell you right now. Keep going, please.
But no, it's a great book. It's fascinating. He's the one too that wrote the JFK assassination, and he was a journalist in Texas, and it's what Oliver Stone used his book for JFK. If you guys remember that with Kevin Costner, and at least some of it, and like all these things that didn't fit. You know what I mean? It's like, hold on, wait a second, like that doesn't make any sense. And that's how Jim Marrs was. He was just, he didn't ever approach anything with a particular scenario. He just started to see where's the truth and the evidence take me and stuff. So, but it's fascinating, and I say that because it's like it helps you to understand where we are today and the current situation. And but we're talking about cloning, you know what I mean, and that's been around for 50 years and pretty dark, But the point is they don't have a spirit. They don't have a human spirit. And I've talked to very high level people, in the hundreds of million billionaires, that are so caught up in all this wonderment and but there's good AI and we're teaching it to be creative and that it can think for itself and have ethics. And it's like we're describing a human being that is created by God. Period. End of story. That'll never be changed. Although they're trying to change it, although they're trying to manipulate it. Days of Noah, nothing new under the sun. But anyway, let's get back on topic.
Listen, I'll tell you what. These people, this is where the mental illness comes in. These people are sick, number one. Number two, they think they own the future. Number three, they want to enslave every single one of us.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. These are psychopaths as far as I'm concerned. This is going to be changed, and I'm completely, totally in agreement with you, 180 degrees under Trump. But what's even more important was what comes after Trump. I mean, we teach about debt forgiveness, and we teach about the quantum financial system that's coming. And I always say technology could either be used for good or bad. It all depends on who wins. Good guys win, it's used for good. Bad guys win, you're in trouble, right? Simple. It's a very simple equation. You don't need to go to, high school and get a public high school diploma, PhD, to understand that. So my thing is this: do you understand what's coming about the quantum financial system with the XRP and replacing, not necessarily replacing the Bitcoin, but Bitcoin was the one that actually, opened the grounds to allow us to get to where we're at right now. But we understand the old financial system is broken. We're going into this new system. What do you know about this financial system? I would like to get your point on it for the audience.
Yeah, and again, don't want to go too much into that topic. Like just keep on Britfield. But with that said, I'm familiar with the system. It was supposed to be introduced in was it September 10th, day before 9/11, and gee, gosh, lo and behold,
Are you talking about Nisara and Jisara?
Yeah. Those aspects of it. I mean, the whole banking system, fiat currency, it's not based on anything. It's just fiction. The Federal Reserve obviously isn't federal. It's international bankers.
Sure.
All that stuff. And so it's like your dollar is really worth, what, 3 cents?
Right.
But, so all that's crumbling. It's coming to an end. Gold backed, silver backed, metal backed. Right. I mean, if you can't, and again, too, you might be investing in this stuff. If you can't touch it and hold it, you don't own it,
Yeah. Well, that's why I got into the gold business. I just launched carminesgold.com not too long ago. How does Russia Russia be with this BRICS nation behind the Iron Curtain, all of that? How do they fit in the overall picture?
Yeah, I think I'm very familiar with Russian history. In fact, book 4, last third of book 4 is based in Russia. Been in Russia, met a lot of Russians. I've always loved Russia. I love the Russian people.
I love the Russian people too.
Not communism, but that. And it's funny too because I had to write a paper for my undergraduate that I said, do I think democracy will survive in Russia? This is like right around when it was falling stuff. I said it will because enough had happened. But anyway, it's always Russia, bad Russia. So if the mainstream media is criticizing Russia, then Russia is good.
Absolutely.
Things that I know about Russia, pornography is illegal, and they got rid of that filth out of there, which they need to do in the United States. They ban GMO foods. Gee, go figure. Really? You don't want chemically alternated. It's not even food anymore. It's funny. You go into some of these markets, and it's just all it is chemicals. It's not food. So there's a lot of big proponent of the Christian church, and movements. And so I'm not an expert in it and stuff. And there's
Hmm.
bad aspects of it. I get it. Show me someone that's perfect. Be the first one to throw the rock. But there's a lot of good in Russia, and they're by no means our enemy. And can you blame them for being suspicious of the evil cabal called the United States and I love the US, but those that have been controlling it, everything that Kennedy said in 1960, you know what I mean, about secret societies and the what's going on behind the scenes and secret
Right, right.
and really illegal elections or false elections. And so, you know, but so no, I have no fear of Russia. I have
Right.
no fear of nuclear war. They wouldn't do that anyway if that
Exactly.
technology actually exists. That's a whole nother question, because they've got too much of an infrastructure in their technology and their 5G and all that kind of stuff. They're not going to wipe that stuff out
Hmm.
it's billions of dollars of infrastructure. So, but again, it's always good. The nuclear scare. Oh my
Right,
gosh, we're all going to die. We're all going to be fried. It's all about fear, 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 fear.
right.
Flash over substance, smoke and mirrors, distraction, bread and circus.
Right.
You know,
Well, let me ask you a question. Is there any future plans to sort of write the story that we're living in right now into the children's category of Brett Field in the future, as far as educating the kids that are growing up right now to let them understand what we're living through?
yeah, and I want to be careful of that because those are sort of other books, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And everything in Britfield, I never force anything. It just fits the narrative. And I didn't think that. On one end, I've been relearning history for 12 years. That's the way I say it, and it's been stunning. You know what I mean? To
Hmm.
relearn history,
Hmm.
and like, oh, really? And then I'm like, no, 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 that's not true. And then all of a sudden, like, the truth comes, right? The facts, and you're like, oh, frick, really? And so I've been relearning it, and so it just
Hmm.
naturally sort of fit into my narrative. But I don't know to what extent. It's hard to say. But the truth, I mean, so much of the stuff that's happening right now, pulling the curtain, and programs like yours that's getting the truth out there, they're in the books. And it's just natural. I speak it as a matter of fact. It's just natural. And it's just good versus evil, constant battle. The committee, the cabal, the secret societies, what they're up to, the nonprofits. We introduce nonprofits and what nonprofits really are.
Right.
We bring in the alphabet agencies, and at the
Hmm.
highest level, they're all controlled. And but we do it in a very light way, if that makes sense. It's not like that's the book, and there's
Right.
plenty of
Right.
nonfiction books out there, like The
Yeah.
Rise of the Fourth Reich
Is
by Jim
there
Marrs.
anybody else that's sort of maybe copycatting you, saying, "Hey, that's a great idea. Let's make another spin-off." Do you have any competition to speak of out there that's trying to maybe ride in your coattails?
I don't know of it, but I would be more than encouraged for people to write a great series, because I mean there's an 85% worldwide gap for family-friendly content, for edifying content. Worldwide gap. I mean, if I were to sit there and work for the next 50 years, I couldn't even come close to touching it. So it's a call to action to all of you creatives, all of you great writers. Write great stories, and the rest will follow. It's true. So there is no competition in that sense. I encourage it because once they're done reading the Bitfield series, they need something else to go on to. Another great series that's family focused, family based, about friendship and courage and hope and faith. My goodness gracious, start producing it, please. Get it
Yeah,
out there.
that's why I always say
Um,
to everybody, get a microphone and speak out. I'm not in competition with anybody either.
yeah, and we're and being a part of this sort of renaissance that we're in right now, which is exciting, is just like, I mean, the old industries are dead. Hollywood's bankrupt. People don't
Yeah,
realize it.
no, no.
They're bankrupt. They're done.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to carry on with Disney and stuff, but what are you happening? You're having all these mergers of major production houses now merging. You know what I mean? And what they
Hmm.
do is they merge, they write off, $1 billion worth of debt. All the little guys get screwed, or they file chapter this or chapter that. They're bailed out by the banks. So this is the thing about Hollywood. You have to understand the whole thing exists to warp your mind, to push an agenda, to destroy the family, to usher in a very dark, nefarious narrative. That's why it exists. That's why it was created. I love films. You know, we all love films, and I think most of the films that they kind of escaped. You know, I mean, almost by accident. I had a conversation earlier on an interview. You know, it's just like I mean, like The Blind Side. You know, like this, like go figure. You know, this little $30 million movie with Sandra Bullock, huge success, $300 million. Showed that was a huge gap out there for those kind of quality films. What did the production team do after that? Did they say, "Hey, we've got something here"? They went on and did a slasher film. You know, things to know about Hollywood and about filmmaking. For every R movie that you make into a PG-13 movie, you make more money. For every PG-13 movie that you make into a PG, you make more money. For every profanity word you take out of a film, you make more money. For every nudity scene you take out of a movie, you make more money. Hollywood knows this. Oh, sex sells. That's a lie. And pretty much everything that comes out of Hollywood is a lie. They know it sells. You saw Top Gun Maverick last year do almost $1.5 billion, 11th highest grossing film in cinematic history, based on just good old, you know, American principles, no agenda, and pretty damn good movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I thought, like, I knew the Britfield movie was going to be big, and I came out of that movie and I thought, wow, Britfield is going to rock it, because there is such a starving hunger for just a good, clean film that's not compromised, without an agenda, without your just filthy crap. We're sick of it. Publishing industry is crumbling in front of our eyes. I just talked to my literary agent this morning. She's in France, and some huge U.S. distributor that represents, I think, about 500-600 publishers, went bankrupt 8 weeks ago.
Wow.
Gee, go figure. Gee, and I've been saying that for freaking years about the publishing industry. I said they're stuck in the 1970s, peddling 8-track players, peddling crap that nobody wants to read. You know, these New York Times bestsellers and blah blah. No, it's not. They're not selling any books.
Yeah.
These Democrats, you know, coming out and, well, my struggle, you know, in the last 4 years, a New York Times bestseller. No, it's not. No one's reading it. No one cares about these democrats, these filthy, vile, non-American communist. Their books aren't selling anything. And they're all lies, and they're all false, and it's just all flashover substance. That's how the entire industry is. We were talking earlier. It's Circusville, USA. I mean, it's just a complete and total circus. You know, there's no difference between the news and Hollywood. They're one and the same. You know what I mean? I mean, they're actors. You don't have journalists anymore. I don't watch any of it. I don't read any of it. And God help you if you do, because it's like, I mean, it's sad, and I feel sorry for anyone. I mean, it's pretty much non-existent. I mean, when people say, you know, oh, I said something on CNN, and I'm like, they're still around. How's CNN still around? I mean, they're the biggest joke out there. You know, they've dropped they've dropped by 90%. They have no audience.
I totally agree.
Unfortunately, a certain type of elderly audience that watches them, that's learned to trust the media, and are all on medication, and God help them too. You know, but.
Yeah. Do you think at some point maybe somebody like yourself, or maybe you might have some involvement in it as well, will write the story of the times we're living in right now? And if we did, I always say it would probably be like, you know, I don't know, maybe 100 parts to it, and each part's going to have, you know, nine versions of, you know, 9, like a Netflix series. How big would it be, do you think? And do you think that something like this in the future will exist, and somebody like you, who's very creative and knows the truth about the truth, would be probably qualified to possibly have a major hand in it?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be me, but it's already happening. I talked to a lot of people in the creative field, and there's a lot of people that are doing documentaries right now, that are doing series right now, that are writing things right now. So I think frankly, I think it's already happening, and we've seen some of it. What was that one series? I can't remember it. She was out of was it the Netherlands? Do you remember her? And she was writing. It was like,
you're talking about the Fall of the Cabal.
Yeah, and that's the slight example. But I mean, it was kind of the first introduction of something where it's like, you know, it was well researched, Um, and it laid it out in chapters, and helped somebody understand and start to wake up. I think you'll see that, but on a much higher level, obviously a much more sort of professional level, although I think she probably did a pretty good job. And it's been a long time, so I'm not saying it was unfallible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
But
what
yeah,
that was incredibly done.
yeah.
Incredibly done.
And I think she's unfortunately something
She's
happened to
passed
her. Is that
away. Yeah, she's
yeah?
passed on. Yeah.
But I remember, I mean, my first wake up call. Do you remember that movie or a documentary called Loose Change? You
Oh,
remember
of
that?
course. Of course. That was
Yeah,
the first ones.
yeah. I mean, that just knocked me on my
Yeah,
butt.
if I'm
You
not
know what I mean?
mistaken, I think yours truly, Alex Jones, who was on Candace Owens earlier today. I'm going to go back and watch that interview. It had 450,000 views in 2 hours. Okay, I want to go back and watch that. Obviously, it's got to be pretty interesting. And I think he
Wow.
actually funded Loose Change, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I would not be surprised. And I'm grateful, win, lose, or draw, of wherever he's at right now or not. I don't really follow any of it anymore. But he was one of the first that I started to wake up, and thanks
Hate
to
him,
him.
listen, hate him or like him, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. He talked a lot of truth, and I don't believe he's part of the cabal or the Mossad, because if he was, he would not have gotten sued into the Stone Age from the
Oh,
cabal.
jeez.
That makes
Yeah.
no sense to me,
Yeah.
right? Because they would never touch one of their own, would they?
Yeah. But yeah, I learned a lot from him. He was kind of one of the pivoting points. I remember the first book I read was called The Bilderberg Group. And
Yeah.
I think it's an Italian writer. I can't remember his name. He's the one that would follow it every year. That was my first introduction. I thought, whoa, wow. And
Yeah.
then I started to do more research. And then I think it was Loose Change came out. And I was like, wait a second, hold on. And then, oh
Yes.
my gosh, that was a massive rabbit hole. That was a
Eye
thousand
opening.
hour
Yeah.
rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, is there a question that I should have asked that I didn't ask that my audience needs to know?
um, I don't know. No, nothing particular. Just it's an exciting series, and I'm just trying to obviously promote it and get it out there. I mean, kids love it, adults love it. I think it's a great summer read. It's great for schools, for homeschools. It's designed to be taught. I mean, they're learning books, but they're fast-paced action books. We had a wonderful comment a couple of weeks ago from a older woman that read the series. She goes, "I love it." She goes, "It reminds me a lot of James Bond, but with a
Mhm.
bigger cast and a larger purpose." And I
Right.
thought, what a great description. James Bond's
Exactly.
fun. It's exciting. It's kind of heroic. There's something happening. He's trying to save the world and stuff. But Britfield has a much bigger cast and a bigger purpose.
Right.
And so it is. It's just a great series. It's sort of while your kids are reading and eating McDonald's, you know what I mean? Britfield is kind of a healthy meal. It feeds the soul, and it provides nutrients and it teaches your kids how to think and approach things and
Yeah.
stuff. That's how it's
So
designed.
are your kids, oh, I'm sure you got kids, right?
I don't
You
know.
don't.
No.
Okay. Well, what happened? I'm not to get off
Never
track.
married. Yeah, I just never got married.
You
Yeah.
never got married. You're single.
Yeah.
Hey, girls, he's single.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey,
Well, this thing
listen.
is all encompassing, frankly, and it's not that I don't have an interest, but and I haven't met some beautiful women along the way, but this is just all encompassing, at least for right now. It's
Well,
7
Chad,
days a
you are
week.
an incredible mind. I couldn't see, only a woman that's got maybe an incredible mind would probably be very attracted to you. Not that you're not good looking. You're a good looking guy, and I'm not gay. I'm married. Okay, I'm
I hear you.
heterosexual. Okay, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's got to be somebody out there for you. And the fact that we are going into the med beds and we are going to be able to get younger and live 1,000 year
I like that
lifespan.
part. Yeah.
I like that part too. Believe me, I'm waiting for it just like everybody else. And I know it's
Yeah.
real because we got military documentation papers that we actually in one of our recent videos. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll tell my wife to splice it in here as well.
Yeah, a lot of
Actual,
it's frequency based. And I know two people that own a lower version. I think they're about $15,000 version, and they use them, and this revitalizing and never been more healthier and more energy. That's a fact. I know that for a fact. And obviously there's higher level models of it. In fact, there's something in Pennsylvania. I was talking to somebody the other day, where obviously you go to the doctor, you're prescribed with some deadly thing, and you only have a certain amount of time. And she is now healed,
yeah,
from it. So very, very truthful. And it's not out there because
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
God created the body wonderfully natural. Our immune system is wonderfully natural. They just introduced this
Right.
ridiculous, pandemic, to destroy that immune system and destroy that system. Gee, breathing air is suddenly dangerous. And but it's just all the stuff that they've been putting into us. You know what I mean? All
Right,
the
exactly.
toxins. I mean, from the water, to the air, to the food. It's like, dear goodness gracious, what a
Sure,
miracle our bodies are that we're still here, right?
sure. Would you have an interest? I'm going to do it while we're here on the air. Would you have an interest potentially? Because we're having a quantum summit. We had a very successful quantum summit, 1776.com, about well, June 8th, June 9th, just passed. And we had close to 400 people show up. We're doing a big shindig at one of the hotels here. We could fit every bit of 1,200 people and possibly even more. Would you have an interest in maybe being interviewed on stage?
Oh, when is that?
It's going to be maybe towards the end of April or May of 2025, which I believe is
Oh, okay.
when the lights come back on.
And that's Florida, right?
Correct, Cape Canaveral.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I would be interested. I
You
could
would
be
be
interested.
interested in that. Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, I'll let Amber know to put you
Okay.
on the list, and hopefully we can see you on stage because I think you got an incredible story to tell. And yes, we want the Harry Potter bullshit story to go away. With all
Yeah.
the bullshit. Absolutely,
Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
positive stuff is what we need.
Yes. Yeah. Edifying,
Yeah.
positive.
And it sounds like you're bringing some positive stuff to the planet, and we need more people like you, Chad.
No, I
That's for
appreciate
sure.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, I had fun. I think my audience is going to eat this stuff up. I wish I could have went longer, but I got two puppies over there that are yelling and screaming at me, saying, "Hey, I want to go out," and they want me to open the door so they can go play with the dolphins. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we live on a canal. We got dolphins and manatees swimming up all the time, and they're
So
from Costa
cool.
Rica. They have no idea what dolphins and manatees are. They usually
Oh,
go in the
wow.
backyard in Costa Rica and they see banana trees, and now there's something swimming in the water. Pretty wild. So, but I had a great time. So people can find you. Do you have a social media presence at all?
Yeah, we do. We have the Facebook site for Britfield, which we do post up interviews and things that are happening, and we're getting ready to launch book 4. So there's going to be a lot of pre-sale stuff. We have Twitter, Instagram. Again, I'm not a big social media guy, and
Hmm.
so it's really the website,
Yep. Okay.
Britfield.com, but only because we just never really invested into it, and
Listen, at least
what
you
what
control your website and you don't have to worry
yeah,
about getting
that's
shut
just
down,
it.
right?
What you build, they can destroy. And I remember like some great.
Like
In
that.
fact, we're supposed to be on the SGT report. Remember SGT
Right.
report? He's great. Now, and I started listening to him like 5-7 years ago, and he had like 800,000 people on his Facebook site or his YouTube site turned off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was his livelihood. And
Yeah.
that guy built that thing from the ground up, and a lot of them, all the old terms that
Totally.
get
Totally.
shut down. And it's just like that's what they can do, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's just like, and it's all manipulated,
Yeah. Yeah.
this past president, for 8 years, 80 million followers on Twitter, hardly, you know what I mean? Not even close. So
Yeah.
it's all fake. It's all
It's all,
flash over.
yeah, we live on fake planet, that's for sure.
And then like with you probably have social media and views. You probably get 10 times more views than it's even calculating and stuff. And
Yeah,
that's
of
the way it
course, of
works.
course, of
Yeah.
course.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. We know that. I've been stifled for a long time. I've been
Yeah.
at this for 35 years, Chad. I'm not new.
Much longer than I. Yeah.
Yeah, a long, long time. The Quantum Summit, I see you fitting in there because you bring a twist regarding education. And if the
Yeah.
kids are not important, I don't know. I mean, the kids are our future. So I think you
Yeah.
bring a wonderful twist to having you at the Quantum Summit here in Cape Canaveral, either at the end of April or May. We
Okay.
expect a lot of people. We expect that we will pack the room. I have
Cool.
podcasters coming that have audiences of 80,000, 100,000 that they're going to
Nice.
broadcast to saying, "Hey, I'm going to be in Cape Canaveral." So, to fill up 1,200 seats is not going to be very difficult at all. So,
Yeah. Very cool. Well, that'd
so
be great.
we would love to have you real, for real.
Well, thank you. An honor to be on your show. Appreciate it. And
Yeah.
appreciate the opportunity to just talk about
Well,
Britfield.
I'm going to hold you over, guys. If you really enjoyed this interview as much as I enjoyed listening to him, I was just basically a spectator, as you could see, when I have this level of caliber of subject to interview, if you will. I'm pretty good at my craft, so I know when to shut the hell up and let them talk.
I
And so I
appreciate
think,
that. Thank you.
yeah, and so I think I did a pretty good job. I'm praising myself. Okay, self praise is better than no praise at all. And so if you appreciate this content, get it out there because that's the only way we can beat the algorithms. At the end of the day, you are the most intricate part of this war. We're still in a war. We're winning by a lot, but we got to keep up the pressure. Thank you. We'll catch you on the next one. Hello, folks. My name is Mel Carmine, and we are right in the middle of a tectonic shift, the biggest wealth transfer that is going to hit this entire planet like a tsunami on steroids. This will never happen again, at least not in our lifetime. Many of you still have the opportunity to get in right now. Joining our Telegram group is perhaps the smartest thing you'll ever do, and it won't cost you a single dime. We have tens of thousands of patriots waiting for you, and they'll take you by the hand to teach you the ropes so that you don't get slaughtered. Not the global reset. This is not the global reset, but rather the quantum financial system reset, the one that's attached to Nasara Jasara. It's coming at us at 800 miles an hour. The question is, are you ready? Are you in position to receive wealth beyond your wildest dreams? There are 6 to 8 tokens that are going to completely and entirely dominate this landscape. And no, it's not Bitcoin or Ethereum. Join our Telegram group today, and don't forget to visit the Quantum Financial Systems Manual at QFS1776.com